I'm JD. Today we're going to be reassembling a grade 8 25 Waltham full plate pocket watch. It was made around 1905. So there's a run quantity of about 1,000 of these things, size 18, pretty big watch. A little bit tough to put together because it's a full plate movement. And you're going to just watch me beaver away at reassembling this movement. So in my process, I make sure that the lever set mechanism that's on this watch is adequately oiled as I put it together. And if there's too much oil, as you just saw with Rodico, I take that oil off, just so you don't have oil finding its way in other places on the watch. So there's a setting gear here on the bottom. It's probably called a ratchet wheel. That has to be placed in that little indent where the wheel is, and then there's the ratchet itself that I'm adjusting right now to make sure that the spring for the ratchet is in the appropriate side, and I've got some oil for that spring there as well. So there's the ratchet wheel. It's always a challenge to remember which direction you put it in, but I did remember that time. Sometimes you can see some inner marks on the wheel from it rubbing against the movement itself, and that gives you an indication of which way it went. And then the cap for it, or the cover for it, goes on like that. Sorry for blocking the view there. So that goes on, and I had to make sure that that cover was aligned properly, because the arbor for the mainspring is going to slide into that square hole, and that's going to allow you to actually wind the watch. So here I'm checking where the rubbing points are for that lever and the lever set against the setting mechanisms. Also adding a little tiny bit of oil for the minute wheel that I'll be later installing on this watch. So I mounted up on my Myers number 58 movement holder. This one was a little tricky because when I took the plate off the top of the watch, all the gears came off with it. So I didn't have the opportunity to take the plate off and have the gears remaining, where I would take a photo of the gears and not have that issue of trying to figure out which gear was where. So to solve that problem, what I did was I looked up the grade or the model 1883 pocket watch on the internet, and I found the movement and the gear train for an 1883 pocket watch, and it gave me the alignment of these. Now, if you recall, I put a video out just about a couple days ago that showed that the replacement of one of the jewel and jewel settings on this watch. So when I put the pallet fork in, a little trick I've done over the years, I think I may have invented it, not sure, but I take a little tiny strip of Rodico and I press it down with my tweezers on one side, and that Rodico holds the pallet fork in place, so when I put it upside down it doesn't fall out. So it's almost impossible to put the pallet fork in by actually resting it on the lower plate, because it tilts over and you can't adjust it. Once I have it like this, I usually have my little probe where I just sort of tap the gears in and make sure that I've got all gears in the right place. So I've got one screw in there, and now I'm going to be basically picking at the gears to make sure they fall in place. I put my finger on the top to put a little tiny bit of pressure, and then I pick away at the gears until I see them dropping. I try to get the bigger gears first, and then I let the lower gears fall into place. It's a little tricky because the pivots have to go through the holes, and you have to make sure they're there. And once I've got the pivots through the holes, I can take the screws and tighten them, as you're watching right now. I don't tighten them down absolutely at this point in time. I just I put them in very loosely to make sure that I don't crush any pivots, just in case. Now in this case I had a gold top screw, and I had to move that to another location later because the gold top screws are visible, and I had used a screw that should be not visible, that would be under the bridge for the mainspring. So just to make sure that the gold top screws are visible, because it's a very beautiful movement. So I'm aligning the screws up here and having to look at them and saying, okay, I got 3 gold top screws here. I got to move this screw to a different location, take the screw that I'm unscrewing here, move it over there, and then take the gold one, because that'll be hidden under the plate, and then move that back there. And now I've got the right screws in the right place. I make sure they're nice and tight. And now when I put the bridge on later on, I'll be able to do that. So here, putting the barrel back in place, that square arbor end would go through the hole and slide in. If it's not aligned, just take your bench key and stick it in, a little bit of pressure on the barrel, and turn the setting mechanism ever so slightly, and the barrel will fall into place. Then I've oiled the arbor while I've got it exposed, and I oil all of the upper jewels of the movement while I have them exposed, and then I'm ready to put on the bridge itself for the mainspring. The mainspring, I took the mainspring apart, I cleaned it, I reinstalled the mainspring. They're a bit of a pain because they're a T mainspring, so you almost have to put these in by hand. I've got lots of mainspring winders, and every time you try to put it in, it slides, the T slides out. So I think the old dudes used to just use their fingers. So I gave it a bit of a winding, and now I'm looking inside to see if the pallet fork is going back and forth, and it is. There's a thumbs up. And this is the dust cover, so I find it almost impossible to put this dust cover in with those gloves on. So I will take the gloves off to finalize the dust cover. So here I'm putting in the whatchamacallit, thingamajabby doohickey, and I'm putting the hour wheel over top of it. So that was a cannon pinion. I'm bending the dial washer up just a bit because it's going to push down on the hour wheel once the face is on. So to put the face on, find out where the seconds pivot is coming up, get the lever out of the way, then put the face on, and then tighten the screws. Now, one thing I did forget to do, you'll see me do it in a little minute, you'll see me do it in a second here, is I take the face off again because I forgot to oil the top. So I put it all together, and because I'm an honest watchmaker, I'm thinking this watch is going to be donated to the gentleman's granddaughter, I think. He can correct me, or daughter. So I wanted to make sure that this was in mint condition for him. So I put it all together and then realized that, oh yeah, I forgot to do oiling of the top jewels. So clean it all up, do all that, and then say, okay, let's take it apart again, because I didn't do the oiling of the jewels. So I took it apart. There we go. Now I'm oiling the jewels. You moron. so they're all oiled up now, and it's a little bit easier to oil it with the face off. That's humor, in case you don't know. And you got to keep the lever for the lever set mechanism out of the way, and make sure the dial screws are in snug. I'll say you don't want to put them in too tight because you could snap them off, and then you've got a bigger problem. So once I had that in, I put the ring on loosely, and then I use my fingers to actually squeeze the dust ring on. So I got that on, everything was fine. A little bit of work on the top there, then I got the balance out and say, let's pray that this worked. I serviced the balance and the hairspring earlier, and I'm just praying the thing ticks, and there it goes. Look at that. So the only value behind these watches is that you could just put the balance straight in from the top, as opposed to 3/4 plate watches where you have to sort of ease it in from the side. So these are pretty rugged watches, made way back in the day. Like I said, this is a 1905 pocket watch, and they made a run. This is a run quantity of 1,000. They made 322,000 of these watches, but they've made millions before. So this thing is running very well. I'll be regulating it later, but I'm going to now case the watch. So I don't put the hands on before I case the watch. It's a lot easier to case it with the hands off and then install the hands. So, because I'm holding the face of the movement now, and I'm playing with the crown to make sure the stem fits in to where it's supposed to be. One thing I also do too is I lean the watch kind of away from where I'm putting the screw in, just in case you slip your screwdriver, it doesn't go into the balance. So just give it a little bit of a lean, so if the screwdriver slips, you don't have that problem. And there we go. That's all done. And then I think I'm going to put a little bit of oil on the hinges just to finalize the job. So it's nice and cased and working well. And I'm going to let this watch run for about a week just to make sure it's going to keep running and there isn't a main problem with it. I've oiled the hinges a bit. They're still a bit stiff, but they've got some oil on them now, which is nice. Then after I do the oiling of the hinges, I do a little cleanup with Rodico so you don't have leftover oil everywhere else. And there you go. So that's the servicing of an 1883 pocket watch reassembly. Anyway, thanks for watching my channel, and I'll see you next time.